Don't move. Don't chase. Carl Jung reveals why letting go changes everything. Let go or be dragged. Zen proverb. This powerful truth sets the tone for today's journey. In a world that constantly pushes us to do more, chase harder, and force outcomes, what if true peace and real transformation comes not from movement, but from surrender? In this episode of Spiritual Wisdom, we explore Carl Jung's profound insights on why stepping back, not forward, may be the most powerful action you take. What are you still holding on to that's holding you back? Share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear what you're releasing to grow. If you're ready to embrace the freedom that comes with letting go, you're in the right place. Chapter 1: Forcing versus Surrendering. You're not stuck because you're lazy, unworthy, or broken. You're stuck because you've been trying to force alignment from a place of fear, urgency, and survival. Beneath all the effort, the affirmations, the journaling, the vision boards, there's still a subtle energy whispering, "Something is wrong. I need to fix it." And that's the problem. You can't force your way into alignment while your nervous system is still anchored in lack and desperation. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are. Carl Jung said it clearly. What you resist not only persists, but grows. So the more you push, the more reality pushes back. Not out of cruelty, but because it's trying to show you something deeper. You're still resisting what is. You think you need to do more, hustle harder, raise your vibration. But what if the real shift happens when you stop doing and start being? Alignment doesn't begin with action. It begins with acceptance. It begins when you stop chasing outcomes and start trusting your current state, even if it feels messy or incomplete. The constant effort to fix yourself, heal faster, manifest quicker. It's all rooted in the belief that now is not enough. But spiritual awakening teaches the opposite. True transformation happens when you meet yourself where you are, not where you wish you were. This is why so many people feel stuck on their spiritual path. They're using spiritual tools to bypass emotional truth. They're trying to manifest abundance while secretly feeling unworthy. They're forcing positive affirmations while internally bracing for disappointment. But energy never lies. You can't fake your way into alignment. You can't perform your way into peace. You can only surrender, not as defeat, but as deep trust. You surrender the timeline. You surrender the outcome. You surrender the illusion that you're in control of how and when it all unfolds. Spiritual wisdom isn't loud or dramatic. It's quiet, stable, and often arrives when you stop forcing. When you finally get tired of striving and allow space for grace to enter, that's when the energy shifts. That's when things start moving, not because you forced them, but because you released the resistance that was holding them back. This is the paradox of spiritual awakening. The more you let go, the more life flows. The less you grasp, the more you receive. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you embody. And you can't embody peace while clinging to control. So the next time you feel stuck, ask yourself, am I in alignment? Or am I just trying to manipulate reality to ease my anxiety? Because the truth is, your nervous system can't hold both surrender and control at the same time. One must soften for the other to breathe. And maybe, just maybe, letting go is not losing anything. Maybe it's the exact moment you become everything. Have you ever let go instead of forcing things and witnessed everything begin to align? If so, share your story in the comments to inspire others walking the same path. If not, comment, "I choose surrender," to declare your shift from control to trust. Let's walk this journey of inner alignment together. Chapter 2. Chasing is a trauma response, not purpose. You don't chase love, success, or wealth because you're greedy or ambitious. You chase because something deep inside you still hurts. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Most people are chasing, not because they're inspired, but because they're trying to outrun a feeling of being unworthy, unwanted, or unseen. That urgency you feel to achieve more, to be loved harder, to gain approval faster, it's often not the purpose. It's survival. When you grow up feeling emotionally abandoned, overlooked, or judged, your nervous system becomes wired for proving. You learn to perform in exchange for attention. You become addicted to external results because they temporarily soothe that inner ache. You start believing that if you just earn more, look better, love harder, or accomplish something bigger, you'll finally feel whole. But that's the illusion, because no amount of chasing can ever satisfy a wound that needs your presence, not your performance. Carl Jung's wisdom cuts through this illusion by asking the harder question, why am I chasing this? Not what you want, but why you need it so desperately. That question stops the cycle. It forces you to look inward and examine the parts of yourself that still feel like they're not enough. The need for constant doing, fixing, proving, that's not purpose. It's protection. You don't want the thing itself. You want what you think it will make you feel. Safe, loved, valid. Take a common modern example. Someone who pushes relentlessly to succeed in their career. To outsiders, it looks like a drive. But underneath, it's an echo of a father's silence or a mother's conditional approval. That person isn't just chasing money or power. They're chasing the moment they'll finally hear, "You matter." And until they stop and feel that old wound, they'll stay on the treadmill, exhausted, anxious, and never truly fulfilled. Chasing is a trauma response. Letting go is the medicine. But letting go doesn't mean giving up. It means choosing awareness over urgency. It means pausing long enough to notice that your energy has been screaming, "Please love me," even as your words pretend to be strong. And here's the secret. The universe doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to the vibration you carry. That's why nothing seems to work when you're hustling from fear. Because on the surface, you're asking for abundance, but your energy is still rooted in lack. Carl Jung's approach to inner work reminds us that everything we chase externally is connected to something unresolved internally. Your job is not to chase more. It's to sit with the part of you that still feels like something is missing. That's where true alignment begins. When you meet your own emptiness with compassion instead of judgment, something shifts. You stop hustling for your worth and start embodying it. You stop begging life to validate you and start living as if you already belong, because you do. If this message speaks to something deep within you, don't just scroll past it. Comment, "I will heal," below to commit to the inner work. Let's stop chasing what we never truly needed and start understanding what we've been trying to fill. Chapter 3. The void is a sacred pause. After surrender, there is a phase that feels strangely hollow, one where nothing appears to happen. yet everything within is quietly shifting. This is the void, the sacred pause. No clear direction, no external signs, just a quiet, lingering stillness that tests not your effort, but your essence. You've let go. But now the question becomes, have you truly detached from the outcome? Or are you still secretly clinging to control, to timelines, to how it should unfold? This moment is not a punishment. It's a purification, a sacred recalibration of your nervous system, your energy, your identity. The void strips away noise. It strips away performance. It reveals where your surrender was still secretly infused with conditions. It asks you to do something most people never master, to stay still and trust while nothing looks like it's working. The silence is loud. The waiting feels unbearable. You start to wonder, did I make a mistake? But in truth, you're in the in-between, a spiritual cocoon, dissolving the old so something higher can be born. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." This is that pain, but not the kind you run from, the kind that refines you. It's grief, not of loss, but of old identities slipping away. The void is where your illusions come up to die. The fantasy that you had control. The ego's belief that it must always be doing. The addiction to progress, movement, validation. It's not the universe ignoring you. It's the universe loving you enough to not give you what you want until you're energetically aligned to receive it. You don't manifest from desperation. You don't call in abundance from fear. You receive only what your nervous system can hold, and the void is where your capacity is quietly expanded. Not through effort, but through surrender. This space reveals who you are when nothing external is confirming your value. No feedback, no applause, no milestones. Just you, raw and real, sitting in the dark, facing your own soul. Most people rush to escape this silence. They chase distractions, run back to old roles, or try to fix the pause by doing more. But those who wait, who breathe, who allow the discomfort to burn away all that isn't truth, those are the ones who emerge transformed. Because the void doesn't just strip you, it sanctifies you. Everything is happening in this nothingness. You are being emptied, not to stay hollow, but to make space for something sacred. The universe is reweaving your timeline in silence. Your subconscious is shedding survival patterns. Your soul is reordering its priorities. And when the new season comes, you will feel it not as a dramatic breakthrough, but as a quiet knowing. A deep inner yes, a peace that needs no proof. This is spiritual wisdom in motion, not loud, not flashy, but faithful. Let the void do its work. Don't move. Don't chase. Just hold the frequency of surrender long enough for your life to catch up to the truth of who you've become. If you're walking through the void right now, know that it's not the end. It's the sacred space before your rebirth. Like, subscribe, and share your reflections in the comments below. Let's honor this silent transformation together and trust that everything is being realigned for your highest good. Chapter 4. Integration over obsession. You don't manifest what you obsess over. You manifest what you've made peace with. The energy of obsession is rooted in lack. It whispers, "I need this to feel whole." And the universe listens not to your words, but to your frequency. That's why the more you crave, the more you repel. It's not because you don't deserve it, but because obsession is resistance disguised as desire. It reveals an inner split of a wound you're trying to heal through external fulfillment. But manifestation isn't about control. It's about wholeness. Carl Jung taught that wholeness doesn't come from perfection. It comes from integration. True spiritual awakening is not about pretending to be pure or positive all the time. It's about facing your insecurity, your shadow, your fear, and not trying to destroy them, but to understand and absorb them into your being. When you stop running from the parts of you that feel unworthy, and instead bring them home with compassion, you collapse the inner war that's been blocking your peace. Integration is power, not the kind that shouts, but the kind that rests. Magnetism doesn't arise from craving. It flows from calm. The more internally balanced you are, the more life flows toward you with ease. When you are no longer vibrating in fear, the external world no longer reflects fear back at you. You stop chasing because you start embodying. And suddenly, the things you used to beg for now feel drawn to your presence. Why? Because your energy says, I am, not I need. That shift is the silent key that unlocks everything. When you are fragmented, you try to manifest from the mind. But when you are whole, you manifest from your being. There is no more grasping, no more efforting. You don't try to get, you become. And that's the ultimate lesson of spiritual awakening. You don't manifest by force. You manifest by remembering who you are without your masks, your fears, or your performance. You manifest by returning to your essence. Let go of the chase. Let go of the tight grip. Make peace with the parts of you you've been avoiding. Integration is not a weakness. It's the deepest strength. The moment you stop searching for something outside to fix you, you unlock the field within you that has always been magnetic, powerful, and whole. If you're ready to stop chasing and start attracting from a place of inner wholeness, comment below. I am in the flow of integration. And if this message resonates, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs this reminder today. Chapter 5. Ego wants control. Soul wants peace. Constantly checking your phone, reading into every silence, overanalyzing every word. This isn't intuition guiding you. It's the ego grasping for control. The ego doesn't wait in peace. It waits in panic. It doesn't trust the process. It demands timelines, guarantees, and evidence. You tell yourself you're tuned in, but really, you're stuck in survival mode, trying to decode the universe out of fear that things might not go your way. The truth is, when you're living in fear, you can't hear the soul. And Carl Jung reminded us that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The soul doesn't chase. It aligns. It doesn't look outward in desperation. It returns inward with trust. The ego clings, begs, and performs. But the soul knows. Peace is not found in proving your worth or hustling for results. Peace is what you become when you stop resisting what is. You've been taught to go after what you want, to fight for it, to force it. But spiritual wisdom teaches the opposite. You don't receive what you want. You receive what you are. That means if you're filled with doubt, you attract more situations that reflect that doubt. If you're constantly questioning your value, life will mirror back that confusion. You can't fake alignment. The frequency doesn't lie. Think about how often you've tried to manifest something while holding your breath, secretly terrified it wouldn't happen. That's not manifestation. That's control disguised as spirituality. Real manifestation happens when you release the outcome and become the version of yourself who already feels whole right now. Carl Jung taught that healing isn't about getting what you want, but integrating the parts of you that were once fragmented. When you stop performing and start embodying your truth, what you once chased begins to arrive without force. The moment you stop gripping, the energy shifts. The moment you stop begging the universe to move, the universe starts dancing in your favor. Take Alex, for example. He burned through every spiritual technique journaling, affirming, vision boards, but he was still frantic inside. The more he asked, the more anxious he became. Why? Because he hadn't shifted his internal state. When he finally stopped forcing and returned to his own inner stillness, the job offer came. Not because he chased it, because he had become the person who no longer needed to. That's the paradox of surrender. It's not about giving up. It's about letting go of who you're not. So what's meant for you can finally catch up. You don't have to beg for what's aligned. You just have to stop resisting who you already are beneath the fear. Let the ego rest. Let the panic melt. Choose peace, not because everything is figured out, but because peace is your true nature. As Jung said, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakens. And when you finally stop moving, chasing, and grasping, you awaken the quiet power that was always there, your soul. Do you feel the shift from control to peace within? If this message resonates with your soul, declare it in the comments. I choose peace over control. And if you're ready to co-create from a place of trust, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you never miss a moment of spiritual alignment. Chapter 6. Shadow work is the foundation of manifestation. True manifestation doesn't begin with vision boards or perfectly scripted affirmations. It begins the moment you stop running from yourself. What shapes your reality isn't just what you say you want, but what your nervous system believes you deserve. That's the invisible wall so many hit. You want love, but deep down, you fear abandonment. You crave abundance, but shame whispers you're not enough. Until you turn inward and face what's been buried, you'll continue to manifest from your wounds, not your power. Carl Jung called this buried part of us the shadow, the unloved, unseen, unspoken aspects of the self we exiled to survive. These are not flaws, they're fragments. The child who was told they were too sensitive learned to harden. The one who was punished for shining too brightly learned to dim. And now, as an adult, you don't understand why your efforts don't align with your outcomes. You speak of worthiness, but your shadow still believes love must be earned. You visualize success, but your inner child trembles at the thought of visibility. When you ignore the shadow, your frequency becomes chaotic. You send out confusing signals, one moment reaching, the next retreating. The universe listens to frequency, not intention. You don't manifest what you want. You manifest what you're aligned with. And alignment only comes through integration. That means being willing to sit with discomfort, to grieve what was never nurtured, to forgive yourself for surviving in ways that once kept you small. Once the shadow is made conscious, everything shifts. Your energy steadies. You stop reacting, stop attracting drama that reflects unhealed pain. You stop chasing things you don't even want just to prove you're worthy of them. Suddenly, you're not asking for love from a place of emptiness. You're radiating it. And that's when manifestation becomes magnetic. Not because you tried harder, but because you became whole. Take, for example, someone who's always chasing emotionally unavailable partners. They journal about wanting stability, say affirmations about worthiness, but continue to repeat the same cycles. The truth? A hidden belief says, if I prove myself to someone who doesn't choose me, I'll finally be enough. But when they sit with the pain of not being chosen as a child, when they cry for that version of themselves, when they stop blaming themselves for it, the pattern breaks. They stop chasing. They start choosing. That's how frequency changes. Spiritual wisdom isn't found in bypassing the pain. It's found in transforming it. Your shadow is not your curse. It is your compass. It points to the parts of you still waiting for love, still longing to be seen. And when you see them, when you no longer deny any part of yourself, you become clear, aligned, powerful. Because now, your energy speaks one truth. I am safe. I am whole. I am ready. Leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a lesson that helps align your energy and elevate your life. If you're ready to manifest from a place of wholeness, type in the comments, I am integrating my shadow and manifesting my truth. Chapter 7. You are the blocker or the channel. What's truly blocking your manifestations isn't fate or bad luck. It's the outdated identity you keep clinging to. The version of you that was shaped in survival mode still whispers, I'm not worthy, I'm not safe, or I don't deserve it. Those silent beliefs may seem small, but they send out a powerful energy that contradicts everything you're trying to attract. While your mouth says abundance, your nervous system says fear. While your mind visualizes love, your body braces for abandonment. And this mismatch is the real reason your blessings can't land. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. When you haven't yet met the beliefs that live in your emotional body, you mistake your own resistance for divine rejection. You don't realize that you've been trying to receive through a version of yourself that was never designed to hold joy, only to avoid pain. And when your inner identity is built on fear, even the things you pray for feel unsafe to your system. This is why they don't arrive, or if they do, they don't stay. You're not failing. You're not broken. You're just misaligned. You're living as the self that survived, not the self that's ready to receive. And this is where true spiritual awakening begins. It's not about chanting louder or manifesting harder. It's about becoming energetically available for what you're calling in. That means releasing the roles, masks, and traumas that have shaped your frequency and kept your nervous system stuck in contraction. It's not enough to say, I want abundance. Your energy has to believe, I can handle it. Every time you try to chase a dream without becoming the version of yourself who can truly receive it, you push it further away. Because chasing is rooted in lack, but embodiment becoming is rooted in truth. When you shift into the self that already feels safe, already feels chosen, already feels whole, you stop chasing. You start magnetizing. The universe doesn't respond to words. It responds to resonance. So the question isn't, what do I want? It's, who am I being while I wait? Spiritual awakening teaches you that your external reality is just a mirror of your internal frequency. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. You're being asked to stretch beyond your conditioning and become someone new. Not to impress anyone, not to force outcomes, but to finally stop standing in your own way. When you stop blocking, and instead become the channel. Life doesn't need to be chased. It flows. If this message has awakened something within you, type in the comments, "I am ready to receive." Let this be your declaration that you're no longer blocking your blessings with fear or unworthiness. Chapter 8. You're not manifesting. You're remembering. You're not failing to manifest. You're simply being called back to what you forgot. This isn't a journey of becoming someone new. It's the unfolding of who you were before the world taught you fear, before you performed to be loved, before you believed you had to earn your worth. Your original self was always whole. But life through conditioning, comparison, and survival convinced you otherwise. Now, the real work is not about chasing success or forcing outcomes. It's about removing the layers that buried your truth. The fear, the need to prove, the addiction to perfection, the constant effort to be chosen instead of realizing you already are. Carl Jung didn't tell us to chase after external milestones. He pointed us inward, toward wholeness. He understood that we manifest not by demanding life to obey our timeline, but by remembering that life already flows through us when we are still. The universe doesn't respond to hustle energy. It responds to inner alignment. And alignment begins the moment you stop grasping and start trusting the silent intelligence within. As Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That unconscious part of you, the one that remembers your truth, is what calls everything into form. You've probably been taught to manifest by scripting, by visualizing, by acting as if. And while these tools can be helpful, they are meaningless if underneath them you're operating from fear. If your energy says, "I don't have it, I'm not enough, I need to earn it," then all you're doing is reinforcing the very lack you're trying to escape. The deeper truth is that the version of you who already has it all, the love, the peace, the purpose, already exists. Not in the future, not in a distant version of yourself, but here, now beneath the layers of noise. Spiritual wisdom reminds us that we don't need to add more to become whole. We simply need to remember what's already there. A woman once spent years chasing a dream. She read every book, joined every course, followed all the strategies, and yet nothing landed. One day, in frustration, she gave up, not out of defeat, but out of exhaustion. She stopped chasing and began resting. She let herself be. And in that stillness, the calls came. The clients appeared. The dream unfolded not because she did more, but because she remembered. Her energy returned to peace. Her spirit stopped screaming, and life could finally hear her. The more you let go, the more you allow. This is not about effort. It's about access. Accessing the part of you that has always been secure, intuitive, and calm. You do not attract from force. You attract from the truth. And truth is quiet. It doesn't beg. It doesn't chase. It just is. Carl Jung's teachings remind us that individuation, true psychological and spiritual growth, is about becoming whole, not becoming more. It's not about fixing the self. It's about reclaiming the self that never needed fixing. So if your world feels silent right now, if things aren't moving, it's not punishment, it's preparation. The stillness is not a void, it's a mirror. It reflects back the places where you forgot who you are. Let the silence work on you. Let it strip away the noise. Because the moment you stop grasping, everything you were trying to force begins to flow in effortlessly. Not because you manifested it, but because you finally aligned with what was always yours. To affirm your return to wholeness, declare your truth in the comments. I remember who I am. Let this be your reminder and your signal to the universe that you're no longer chasing, proving, or performing. You're simply being. And from that place, everything flows. If this message resonates, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's ready to come home to themselves. And perhaps that's the paradox. The more you let go, the more things begin to align. In stillness, what's meant for you doesn't drift away. It recognizes your peace and finds its way back. So don't chase, don't force, just trust the deeper flow of life. If this message spoke to your soul, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. And be sure to turn on the notification bell so you never miss a moment of clarity, truth, and transformation. Your journey is unfolding, and we're honored to walk it with you. Awakening made you tired of people. Carl Jung says it's a sign of this deeper shift. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. Carl Jung. Have you ever felt like your spiritual awakening is making you withdraw from people not out of pride, but out of something deeper shifting inside you? You're not alone. In today's episode on Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore why feeling tired of people might actually be a sign of profound inner transformation. Carl Jung called this the beginning of individuation, the sacred journey of returning to your authentic self. If you've ever felt disconnected from shallow conversations or drained by old environments, this message is for you. Drop a comment below. Have you experienced this shift? Let's grow together by sharing our insights and supporting each other on this awakening path. 1. Awakening changes your frequency and creates emotional distance. Spiritual awakening shifts something deep within you, not just your thoughts or beliefs, but your entire energetic frequency. Suddenly, the world feels different. What once felt familiar now feels foreign. Conversations that used to bring comfort now feel repetitive and draining. You try to engage, to stay present, but your body tightens and your spirit resists. It's not that you're judging anyone. It's not that you think you're above them, but you can't deny that something has changed. You're no longer aligned with the emotional wavelength you once shared with others, and this creates an invisible yet undeniable distance. The people around you haven't necessarily changed, but you have. The shift is subtle yet seismic. You no longer find satisfaction in gossip, complaints, or small talk. It feels like noise, like static. Your soul craves depth, meaning, truth. You begin to notice how often people speak without really saying anything. You listen, but the words pass through you. There's no resonance, no spark, no nourishment. You're not being cold or closed off. You're simply attuning to a different frequency, one that values inner presence over outer performance. This emotional distance isn't a flaw or a phase. It's part of the process. A natural byproduct of awakening is detachment from the familiar, from the roles you used to play, from the relationships that once defined you. You're not pushing people away. You're being pulled inward. Your energy is calling you home to yourself. And in that return, there's an inevitable solitude. The noise quiets, the room empties, and for a while, it might feel like a loss. But what you're actually experiencing is alignment. Carl Jung wrote, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." When you awaken, your priorities change. Your emotional language deepens, and not everyone speaks it. That's what creates the ache. The realization that most of the world is still operating on autopilot, while you've begun to question everything. You see through illusions. You feel the weight behind the words. You sense what's not being said. And you can't go back to pretending it doesn't matter. You start to notice who drains you and who nourishes you, who listens just to respond and who listens to understand, who mirrors your old self and who reflects the version you're becoming. The space between those two selves, the old you and the emerging you, feels like a void. But it's not emptiness. It's sacred space. It's the cocoon between identities, the stillness before transformation. And even though it's uncomfortable, it's necessary. Your spirit is recalibrating. Your nervous system is learning peace. Your boundaries are becoming clearer. You no longer tolerate chaos masked as connection. You no longer chase validation in places that never truly saw you. This isn't bitterness, it's clarity. This isn't detachment, it's discernment. You're not isolating yourself, you're protecting your frequency. You're making room for new connections that match your depth, your values, your truth. Let the silence stretch. Let the loneliness teach you. Let the disconnection refine you. Because you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. And on the other side of this shift, you will find people who feel like home. You will speak, and you'll be heard. You will feel, and you'll be met. Until then, trust the distance. It's not a punishment. It's a sign you're awakening. Have you ever noticed your relationship shifting after a spiritual awakening? If so, share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone feel less alone. And if you're still navigating that emotional distance, comment below. I'm learning to honor my new frequency, to affirm your journey. Let's grow together in this space of truth and transformation. 2. Carl Jung's concept of individuation explains the loneliness. Carl Jung called it individuation, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are by shedding who you were told to be. And it doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels like being stripped bare. As the layers of the false self begin to dissolve, the roles, masks, performances you wore to survive, everything tied to that false self starts to crumble too. You feel it in your relationships first. The people who once made you feel safe now drain you. Conversations that once comforted you now feel unbearably empty. You're not judging anyone. You're simply no longer willing to abandon yourself to belong. This is what no one prepares you for, the grief of spiritual awakening. It's not just about gaining insight. It's about losing identities, dynamics, and emotional patterns that kept you tethered to an old version of you. You sit in rooms full of people and feel like a ghost. You smile out of habit, but your soul is elsewhere, seeking meaning, craving truth, starving for depth. What you once tolerated now triggers discomfort. What you once ignored now screams for your attention. And in that quiet unraveling, spiritual wisdom begins to whisper. This pain is proof you are waking up. When you awaken, your energy changes. You stop resonating with the frequency of small talk, gossip, approval seeking, and emotional performance. You no longer feel at home in environments that thrive on disconnection and distraction. And so you retreat. You withdraw, not because you hate people, but because your spirit is tired of noise. You're learning to protect your peace. You're learning that being alone is not loneliness, it's recalibration. As your nervous system detoxes from years of overstimulation, your body demands stillness. Your soul demands truth. And in that space, you start to remember who you are without the noise. Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But that privilege comes with a cost, the death of who you're not. Awakening is not glamorous. It's raw. It strips you down and asks, what is real? And most of what you thought was real, the friendships based on fear, the love built on codependency, the laughter masking pain dissolves under the light of your new awareness. You mourn not just people, but versions of yourself. You grieve for the years you spent asleep, performing, pretending. And yet, in that grief, there's beauty, because every tear carves space for a more authentic life. Spiritual wisdom teaches you to hold that paradox. You feel more whole than ever, yet more isolated. You see clearer than ever, yet feel misunderstood. But the ache you carry is not emptiness, it's expansion. Your soul is making room for alignment. You're being called to relationships that nourish you, not drain you. To conversations that heal, not distract. To have a presence that feels like home, not performance. And slowly, your loneliness becomes solitude. Your silence becomes a sanctuary. And your awakening, though heavy, becomes the most honest thing you've ever known. Comment below. I choose authenticity. If you're ready to embrace your individuation journey and let go of who you were told to be. 3. The real drain is not people. It's pretending to be someone you're not. You're not tired because people are toxic. You're tired because your soul is done performing. You've worn masks for so long, smiling when you didn't feel like it, nodding along to stay polite, laughing at jokes that didn't land in your heart. It's not that the world changed overnight. It's that you've stopped abandoning yourself just to belong. The real drain isn't the noise around you. It's the silence inside you every time you betray your truth to maintain the peace. Carl Jung once said that individuation, the journey toward becoming your most authentic self, demands the breakdown of who you thought you had to be. This shift isn't comfortable. In fact, it's painfully disruptive. You feel it in your chest when a friend calls to gossip and your body tightens. You feel it in your throat when someone asks how you are and you want to tell the truth, but smile instead. The tiredness comes not from them, but from you pretending everything still fits when it doesn't. You don't need less connection. You need less pretending. The nervous system, trained for years to seek safety and approval, now fights against your evolution. It pulls you back into old roles. The agreeable one, the fixer, the strong one who never complains. But now, each time you step into those roles, something inside you winces. It's because your spirit has already moved on, even if your habits haven't caught up. There's nothing wrong with you for needing space. There's nothing wrong with you for canceling plans, for choosing solitude over small talk, for saying no without explanation. That's not selfish. It's sacred. You're creating room for your real self to breathe. And yes, it will confuse people. They've grown attached to the version of you that performed well, stayed quiet, and showed up no matter what it cost. But you've paid those costs with your peace, and your spirit is tired of the debt. This shift will feel lonely at first, but that loneliness isn't emptiness, it's clarity. You're not withdrawing because you hate people. You're pausing because you love yourself enough to stop leaking energy into situations that no longer align. You're not distancing to punish others. You're reclaiming the parts of you that have been buried beneath years of expectations, roles, and emotional labor. Carl Jung reminds us that the deeper you go into your own unconscious, the more you begin to live in alignment with your true nature. And as you shed what's false, you also shed the crowds that were drawn to the performance, not the person. What's left isn't emptiness, it's freedom. It's the beginning of genuine connection, rooted in truth, not in survival. You're not tired of people. You're tired of pretending. And that distinction changes everything. If this message speaks to your soul, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Have you ever felt drained, not by people, but by the pressure to be someone you're not? Let's talk about it below and continue uncovering what it really means to live in your truth. 4. Shadow work deepens self-awareness and sensitivity. Shadow work is not just some abstract idea tossed around in spiritual circles. It's the very essence of what happens when a spiritual awakening starts to unfold. As your inner world begins to expand, you don't just discover more light, you become aware of the darkness you've been hiding from. The shadow is made of all the parts of yourself you were taught to reject. Your anger, your fears, your shame, your unmet needs. And suddenly, you can't keep them buried anymore. Carl Jung said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that's exactly what's happening. You're waking up to everything you've avoided. You begin to notice how emotionally charged every interaction becomes. It's like you can feel through people's words, piercing beneath their surface to the pain they're not saying aloud. You sit with someone, and while they smile, you feel their anxiety. While they laugh, you sense their sadness. While they complain, you pick up on their hidden longing. You're no longer just hearing voices, you're reading energy, soaking up unspoken truths. This sensitivity isn't a weakness. It's the side effect of becoming deeply self-aware. Because as you start recognizing the masks you once wore, you begin recognizing them in others too. But this level of awareness comes with a cost. You start to feel overstimulated in places you used to enjoy. The party feels too loud. The office gossip feels toxic. Conversations feel like they're draining your soul because they no longer resonate with your spirit. What once felt normal now feels artificial, forced, and flat. This isn't social anxiety, it's soul misalignment. You've outgrown shallow waters, and your spirit is calling you into the deep. The problem is, not everyone wants to dive with you, and that's where the loneliness begins. You might find yourself walking away from friendships that once defined you, not because you're better than anyone, but because your nervous system now demands peace, not performance. You begin prioritizing solitude, stillness, and truth over noise, chaos, and pretense. You'd rather be alone than shrink yourself to stay connected. This is shadow integration. You're no longer externalizing your discomfort. You're meeting it inside yourself. You see your triggers. You face your wounds. You stop blaming and start healing. And while this journey can feel isolating, it also births immense compassion. Because when you realize that most people are wearing emotional armor, not to deceive you, but to survive, you soften. You no longer take things so personally. You see pain underneath pride, trauma beneath anger, fear behind control. And suddenly, even the most difficult people become mirrors, reflecting what you've conquered and what you still need to embrace. This phase of spiritual awakening isn't always pretty. It's not about light and love all the time. It's about facing your darkness without flinching. It's about becoming so honest with yourself that dishonesty in others becomes unbearable. And the more you evolve, the more you crave authenticity like oxygen. Your nervous system stops tolerating anything fake. And that's not weakness, that's transformation. Do you feel your sensitivity growing as your self-awareness deepens? Shadow work is not weakness, it's courage. If you recognize this transformation within yourself, affirm it in the comments below. I embrace my shadow and grow in truth. 5. You begin attracting more authentic, energetically aligned relationships. As you begin to heal, something deep within you shifts. You no longer crave attention from the wrong people. You stop trying to impress, entertain, or prove yourself. Without realizing it, your energy becomes clearer, more honest, and that honesty begins to speak louder than words. Suddenly, you find yourself uninterested in shallow conversations and emotionally unavailable people. You begin to crave something real, something that speaks to your soul, not your wounds. This is a sacred moment in your spiritual awakening, the moment your energy starts filtering out anything that was only meant to feed your survival patterns. You're no longer running on the need to belong at any cost. You're remembering who you are without the masks. But this shift doesn't come without discomfort. When you stop performing, some people will leave. Not because you've changed too much, but because the relationship was never built on truth. It was built on your performance. As that performance drops, so does the illusion of closeness. This is where solitude steps in, not as a punishment, but as preparation. The silence isn't empty, it's sacred. It's where your intuition becomes louder than your fear. It's where you learn the difference between being alone and being aligned. Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from being alone, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important." You're not lonely. You're just no longer interested in communicating in a language that betrays your soul. During this sacred solitude, your energy field recalibrates. You're no longer broadcasting the frequency of fear, approval-seeking, or insecurity. You're radiating something much more powerful, wholeness. And wholeness doesn't beg, it attracts. You begin to notice that some people no longer text you back. Some invitations stop coming. And even though your mind may panic, your soul knows this is the clearing before the blessing. It's the pruning of old energies so that something more aligned can take root. And what comes next is not louder, but deeper. Real connection, real recognition, real resonance. The people who begin to appear feel different. Their presence is calming. Their words don't drain you. They restore you. You no longer feel like you have to shrink or edit yourself to be understood. These new relationships don't demand performance. They welcome presence. You feel safe, not because they complete you, but because they reflect the completeness you've discovered within. This is spiritual wisdom in motion, the unfolding of relationships that reflect your healed state, not your wounded self. Let this process take its time. Let the empty spaces stretch. Don't fill the void with noise. Don't run back to what hurt you just because it's familiar. Trust that your frequency is doing the work for you now. You're not just attracting people anymore, you're attracting reflections. And the clearer you become, the clearer they'll be. This isn't loneliness. This is alignment. This isn't a loss. This is liberation. And this isn't the end of connection. It's the beginning of something real, something sacred, something your soul has been waiting for your entire life. If this message speaks to your soul, take a deep breath and declare it now. I am ready for aligned, soul-nourishing connections. I trust what is meant for me will find me. 6. Your nervous system is evolving alongside your consciousness. Awakening isn't just something that happens in your mind. It's not just about new thoughts or spiritual beliefs. It runs deeper than that into your nervous system, your physical body, and your energetic field. As your consciousness rises, your body begins to respond. You start to notice how certain environments make you tense, how your heart races in rooms filled with noise or surface-level chatter, and how exhausted you feel after even small conversations. This is not a weakness or social anxiety. This is your nervous system evolving to meet the sensitivity of your expanding awareness. Carl Jung once said, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." And that pain often manifests physically before your mind can make sense of it. Your system is becoming more attuned to energy, to frequency, to authenticity. What once felt normal, gossip, chaos, meaningless busyness, now feels unbearable. Not because you're superior or judgmental, but because you're no longer aligned with it. The people and places that don't match your new vibration feel heavy. You're not becoming distant, you're becoming precise. This shift in sensitivity can be confusing at first. It often feels like loneliness, like you're pulling away from everything you once knew. But in reality, your body is trying to protect you from overstimulation as it learns to operate in a higher state of consciousness. Your nervous system is shedding years, maybe even decades, of noise and conditioning. And just like muscles, after a workout, it needs time to rest and adjust. There's a woman named Elena who used to be deeply social, always surrounded by people. After a retreat that awakened something within her, she came back home and felt like a stranger in her own life. Her usual routines exhausted her. Her friends' conversations felt shallow. She tried to force herself to engage like she used to, but her body resisted. Eventually, she stopped resisting too. She started honoring her new rhythm. And in that silence, she found herself again. Carl Jung's teachings on individuation remind us that becoming whole means breaking away from what is false. And sometimes, what is false isn't just a mask we wear. It's the energy we've tolerated. It's the relationships we've outgrown. It's the noise we once called normal. So when your nervous system begins to reject what you used to accept, it's not regression. It's refinement. It's your soul making space for truth. Your sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a compass. It tells you when something feels off, even if you can't explain it. It guides you away from the loud and shallow, toward the deep and real. And as you keep honoring that truth, even when it makes you tired, even when it makes you lonely, you're building a kind of strength that the world rarely sees: energetic integrity. This process of awakening through the body is sacred. It requires grace, patience, and trust. Your nervous system is not betraying you. It's guiding you toward peace, toward clarity, toward a life that no longer drains you but nourishes you. If this message resonates with your journey, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and tap the notification bell so you never miss powerful insights like this. Your nervous system is evolving for your highest good. Comment below. I am aligning with my new energetic self. To affirm your transformation and inspire others on the same path. 7. True awakening means wholeness, not superiority. Spiritual awakening is not about becoming superior to others. It's about becoming whole within yourself. The real journey begins when you stop trying to escape your pain and start embracing it as part of your story. Your spiritual path is not meant to make you feel above anyone else. That feeling of being more conscious, more aware, or more enlightened than others is not true wisdom. It's the trap of the spiritual ego. And the ego doesn't disappear just because you meditate or say affirmations. It simply puts on a new mask, often a holier one. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That means the parts of you that you've ignored, rejected, or tried to spiritually bypass the shame, the guilt, the inner child still grieving, these are not blocks to awakening. They are the doorway. The real transformation happens not when you rise above your humanity, but when you integrate it. You stop chasing the idea of perfection and start honoring your wounds as sacred. When you come into wholeness, your energy becomes stable. You no longer feel the need to prove anything. You are no longer triggered by people who don't get it, because you realize they're walking their own path, just like you once did. You don't need to control outcomes or convince anyone to change. Instead, your peace speaks for itself. You begin to attract people not through effort, but through presence, not through status, but through sincerity. You also begin to see that the roles you once played, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the fixer, were survival tactics, not your truth. The more you awaken, the less interested you become in playing those roles. You stop reacting from old wounds and start responding from clarity. Conversations that once excited you now feel empty. Environments that once felt like home now feel misaligned. And it's not because you're better than others. It's because you're no longer abandoning yourself to belong. This shift isn't loud. It doesn't look dramatic. It's subtle. You find yourself sitting in silence more. You feel less urgency to be understood. You're not running away from the world, but you're no longer ruled by it either. You become rooted in something deeper, your own essence. And from this grounded state, you emit a calm, loving, magnetic energy. Some will be drawn to it. Others will misunderstand it. But you no longer take it personally. You've stopped living to be received. You're living to be real. Wholeness is when your inner child, your present self, and your higher self are all sitting at the same table, finally seen, finally heard, finally loved. You are not fragmented. You are not pretending. You are simply being. And in that being, there is power. A quiet, unshakable power. Not because you have risen above the world, but because you have descended into the depths of your own soul and found peace even there. That is the essence of true spiritual awakening. To affirm your dedication to true awakening, declare your commitment to inner wholeness, not superiority. Comment below. I choose wholeness over ego. To honor your journey and inspire others to walk this path with humility, compassion, and truth. And maybe that's the part no one tells you, that awakening doesn't always feel like light and love at first. Sometimes it feels like distance, like silence, like pulling away from the noise so you can finally hear your own soul. But this shift isn't disconnection, it's realignment. You're not losing people, you're finding yourself. If this message spoke to something deep within you, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who may need it, and subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom. Tap the notification bell so you never miss a moment of truth, healing, and awakening. Your journey is sacred, and we're honored to walk it with you.